What's good, YouTube? It's your boy DJ LiftOFF, and you don't want to miss this flight. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking everything System 1 from Rane. Now, at this time, I'm sure you've seen other tutorials, other overviews. Rane itself released like an amazing overview going through every single nitty-gritty detail about the System 1. So I'm not going to bore you with an entire review going over every little thing. However, I am going to give you all the LiftOFF edition, where we're going to talk about the pads, the vinyl, the crossfader, what things feel like. I'm also going to just talk about, the things that I think are super cool about the controller in general. First thing, of course, with the System 1, not going to be using Serato DJ as of right now. Of course, as you probably already know, that is going to be released. So you will be able to connect, your System 1 to your laptop and then use Serato DJ, the software on your laptop. But right now, I'm actually really getting familiar with Engine DJ, and I actually really like it more than I thought. I'm one of the ones that are more like a laptop DJ, I guess you could say. I've definitely used CDJs. I've definitely used Engine DJ with Denon. However, on this System 1, it's definitely, it might transfer me over. We'll see. However, let me go ahead and grab my USB and I'll turn this thing on and let's get this started. Now, the first thing we're gonna go ahead and do is go ahead and power this thing on. For starters, this System 1 is definitely built like a tank. I'm sure you've heard that already. The build quality on this System 1 is definitely amazing. Definitely weighs a little bit, so transferring it, depending on how much you like to carry around or how much you like to lug around, will be something to consider. However, this thing, like I said, it is a tank. Super duper durable controller from Rane. So the first thing we have here, I've already connected my Wi-Fi. This System 1 can use Wi-Fi. You can connect to Apple Music, also has Bluetooth, has a whole bunch of just cool stuff. We'll go through just a little bit of the menus. I'm gonna go ahead and click next right here. Of course, right here, you can log into your Engine DJ profile as well. So one thing I really like about the System 1 for starters is this screen, the way the screen feels as far as like how it reacts to the touch. Super duper sensitive in a really, really good way. There's tons of settings and features that you can change on this System 1. So right before I started recording, I went ahead and I imported some of my Serato playlists over into Engine DJ. And one thing I'll say about the Engine DJ software is it's pretty intuitive. You can kind of click around and figure things out really easily on your own. Getting my Serato playlist onto Engine DJ, as well as getting the stems, like you just have to right click, create stems. You can also just drag whatever your playlist is over on top of stems. I'll try to show you all a few of those things, but it's super intuitive. Also, like I said, Rane has a really long video showing you everything that you can do, all of the good tips, tricks, features of the System 1. So I definitely recommend you check that out. So if we go ahead and click menu, we have tons and tons of options available. The very first thing I did, I'm a horizontal waveform guy. I don't like vertical, never did. So literally the first thing that I did, I went ahead and clicked menu, layout, and I found waveform orientation. As you can see, you can choose horizontal or vertical. I'm quickly gonna go over just some of the stuff in profile. As you can see, tons and tons of settings here, from sync, default speed, range, start track position, turntable mode. You also have your mixer settings in here. So tons of things you can do with the mixer, your playlist deck, crossfade time, EQ type. You have your Q solo mode here, your split Q output, X fader, cut in length, right and left. That's one thing that's really cool to have on this controller. You're able to, really fine tune the crossfader. And essentially all that is the amount of time that you actually hear audio from when you take it off the edge at the crossfader. So as soon as the audio comes on, you can change your timing in there with that X fader, cut in left and right. You can also calibrate your crossfader right there. So that was really quick, me just kind of going through some of the settings that you have. Of course, again, there's tons of things to kind of really make this your own as far as how you want to set it up for yourself. But with that said, now let's talk about, more so the actual controller, how the vinyls feel, how the crossfader feels. And of course, I gotta start with the scratch test. So let's hop into that right now. All right, DJs, there's a super quick scratch test. Starting with the vinyl, you do have the 7.2 inch vinyl on the System 1. Now the vinyl feels pretty good. Doesn't feel, of course, like your classic vinyl or real vinyl. It comes close, but that's one thing I do really love about my Rane 12s and my vinyl on those. I have them sitting right here. Just that authentic vinyl feel, as well as my S9, just such a great mixer. However, this is no joke. Scratching on the System 1 definitely feels really good. You of course have your filling adjust down here at the bottom, of course, which has a lot of room to really make it, you know, feel how you want to make it feel. Now for me, I have one washer under these. If I took this off, I just have one washer on both sides. This is just the slip mats that also came with the System 1. So again, definitely big enough to get your hands around it. The tension on, or the resistance on the vinyl feel great. As far as my torque, I do have my torque on high, always have my torque on high. That's just how I like to personally scratch. Now moving to the Crossfader. Again, you do have that tension adjust, so you can adjust it just, you know, really, really tightly to exactly how you want it to feel. The Crossfader is super duper fluid. I like to have mine kind of on a lower setting or on a minus setting, so it's really, really fluid going back and forth. Overall feels really good. You also, like I mentioned in your settings, you can adjust how much sound you have before you actually come off the edge of the Crossfader. So if you want to make it really, really tight, or you want to have a little bit more room where as soon as you come off the sound, you know, it takes a little bit more of a delay, or it's no delay whatsoever. It is nice having that feature. So that's definitely one of the great features about this Crossfader. Moving right up from this Crossfader, the actual fader's super fluid as well. So if you're someone who likes to scratch, you know, and actually use the volume faders as well, these are super duper fluid, feel really amazing. They really knock this out the park as far as the way these feel. So I always do the test where I kind of slowly slide up, and this actually feels really good as well, sliding down slowly, because I like to fade in sometimes just a song really slowly. So I always test this. This feels actually really, really good, whether I push up or actually hold it. And this feels great. Volume faders, definitely perfect. Now, before I hop into the fader effects and the touch effects, which are two really cool features on the System 1, I want to show you really quickly how you can also record your audio, because I do want to record this next part. So over here on my top right, if I go ahead and just click this record button, all I have to do is press that one time, press this start button. Now everything that I do on the controller will be recorded. And then once I press stop, it'll actually go right to my USB. I can save it, and I have that clear, clean, high quality audio. Literally that simple. I know a lot of DJs sometimes ask me, how do I record my audio? Usually I use QuickTime. However, this makes things a lot easier. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that playing. So now I wanna talk about the fader effects and the touch effects. Now the fader effects, super duper cool. If I go ahead and hold this right here, actually let's go back to my, let me go ahead and load this. If I hold fader effects right here, I have 4 different effects that will be enabled as soon as I move this volume fader. So let me go ahead and show you really quickly. Alright, so there's a quick example of me just using those fader effects. As you can see, you do have 4 different options to choose from. You have the fader, echo, stutter, verb, echo down, reverb down. You can also change the length of those. These options change depending on which actual effect you're on. So I just gave you a little quick glimpse of what those can sound like. Super duper cool feature. You can use that creatively. You can use that whether if you want to use it creatively, you can do that. Or if you just want to make, you know, fading out just a little bit easier on yourself, you could just use that. Just drop the fader echo out, super duper easy, or use some of those other options that are in there. So you also on the other side have your touch effects. Me personally, I probably wouldn't use these as much. However, you do have the ability to enable that touch effect right there. And then if you click right here, this FX select, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 10 different effects that you can choose through this as well. Let me go ahead and just play a few of these at random. Also with this setting, you also can just press latch right here. If you press this latch button right here, now you can just press one time and it'll stay locked into wherever you press. Moving up from there, we have tons of different effects. Again, we have our echo, reverb, recycle, pitch down, rise, echo out. I'm not gonna go through all of these. Some of these are pretty standard, you know, your echo, your reverb, tons of different options to choose from. Swell verb, roll, reverb drop, break, crush, flanger, scale down. Tons of different things that you can choose. So again, not gonna go through all of the different effects, just give you a quick little glimpse, but you can change the frequency specifically on echo using this parameter right here. Of course, every effect will have some different types of settings, but you can change that. You can also change your beats over here on the right-hand side with this little knob right here, just clicking that up and down. For example, if I'm on reverb, now that changes the room size. You can reduce that room size. Now for me, you know, I love my paddle effects. Just like some of the other Rane products, we have our paddle effects. You can push those up to, you know, lock that effect in. You can also easily just go down as well. Super easy to use, pretty standard. They feel great. Moving up, we have our sweep effects. Again, another thing that you can change by just holding that effect select. You can see filter, noise, wash, reverb, dub, echo. You also have some resonance that you can change right here. And then we have kill and bleed at the bottom right here. So if we want to change that to noise, you can just easily click that, let that go. Now when you use this, you can hear noise. Just like that. Now right above the sweep effects, you have your low, your mid, and your high. Of course, that's gonna be your EQ, but you can also click this button right here on both sides, stem level. And I wanna take out just the vocal. You can do that if you wanna take out the drums. Now, as far as the pads feel great. They're super responsive, easy to click. I can sometimes be a stickler for pads as far as the size of them and kind of like that responsiveness of them as well, but these feel great. Of course, we have our standard, you know, different things. We have our hot cue, of course, not gonna go through hot cue really, but we have hot cue, we have roll here, we have our sampler. If you wanna load up some different samples, you can also see the sampler names here. We have our siren, fresh, wheel up, air horn, 909 kick, 909 snare, 808 clap, open hap, all of those snares right here. One cool thing is the fact that you can see all of the different names on the actual screen. I do think that's pretty cool. Sometimes, of course, depending on the controller you're using, you might forget what's on the pad, or you might have to look in your software to, you know, see what's on each pad. So that's really cool to have there. Now, of course, we have our stems as well. Pretty standard. Only thing that's kind of different with these stems, of course, I'll just go ahead and show you. If you press the melody down here, you're probably used to, depending on what you use, you're probably used to when you press this button or this pad right here, all of these will fade out. However, now you can just press this to take out the melody. It'll actually go ahead and echo out. You can echo out the bass. You can echo out the drums. Of course, you can echo out the vocal as well. However, if you hold shift and you actually press this acapella button, now you'll just be left with the vocal. So let me go ahead and show you how that actually sounds. So now you have a little bit more flexibility with your stems as well. And for me, I know it's not a huge thing. It may be to you, may not be, but the acapella and instrumental button in general were a huge game changer for me. I think it's a super creative way to just immediately be able to go to your acapella or your instrumental. I remember when I first used it on the Rane Performer, I was using it like crazy. I think nowadays, you have some DJs who love stems, use them probably every transition. Others don't use it as much. However, definitely having those buttons is definitely a game changer for me. Now, a few more things to talk about before I go ahead and wrap this up are gonna be the pitch faders. So it does lock in the middle. However, it's not super tight as far as locking in the middle. You can kind of graze over it. It doesn't lock perfectly. Definitely not a huge thing, just kind of noting it. But the fader in general, the pitch fader definitely feels fluid, feels good. No complaints there whatsoever. Another super important thing and good thing to have is your track search right here. So if we hold shift and we actually just go ahead and spin this knob right here, we can actually use that as a track search. You can also just click on the screen here as well to jump to different parts of the track. Right there, I'm gonna go ahead and pause. At some point, I am going to do a follow-up on this System 1, especially once they do release Serato DJ. Again, I am going to be checking out Engine DJ more because so far, like I said, it's very intuitive. There's tons of things that you can do in here. Right here, it's kind of pretty standard on the browse. You just have your source right there. You have playlists, prepare, history, folder, nothing too crazy right there. One cool thing is you do have this search up in the top left. So you actually can search songs as well. And you actually have a pretty decent sized keyboard to actually use to search for music. So that is a super plus since you don't have, like if you're used to using a laptop, you do have that search there. Or you can actually just Bluetooth a keyboard onto this controller as well if you want to actually have an actual keyboard. So again, tons of different functionalities. As far as the audio output, Rane always puts out great audio output. You also have two mic inputs in the front. You have your low, you have your high, and of course your level. You have some mic effects with a depth knob at the front as well. Of course, all of your standard crossfader settings. Also have your Bluetooth and your aux. You have your sampler volume, and you have your headphones. In the back, last thing I'll mention is you do have locks on the actual power and the USB-C when you actually plug these in. So you can actually lock that power in there to make sure it doesn't come out by mistake, as well as your USB-C. I know some DJs have had issues with that in the past, so you can go ahead and lock that in, lock both of those in, make sure that they don't come out. You also have various slots for your USB drive, so no issues right there whatsoever. And lastly, you can do an SD card as well if you do have your music on an SD card. So I promise that's it right there. I probably went more in depth. I always end up going a little bit more in depth than I really want to. I sometimes want these videos to be a little bit more quick. However, great controller overall. I've definitely had fun using it for the couple weeks that I've had it. I'll definitely be using it a lot more. Definitely trying to get or continue to get used to Engine DJ, but I will be checking out Serato DJ once that functionality is available. If y'all enjoyed the video, please press that subscribe button. Please press the like button so you know the next time that I upload a video. And without further ado, I will catch y'all on the next light.